All right. I really look forward to this. I was in talking to someone in Silicon Valley the other day, and then I had Singapore yesterday, and now I'm back in Europe with Alessio Mauro from neoEYED. Welcome.
Hi, Joaquin. Thank you for the interviews. Yeah, hi. Nice to meet you.
Where are you based, Alessio?
I'm in Italy, and the south part of Italy, in Sicily, the best part of Italy.
Oh yeah, I've actually had in one of my previous companies, the CEO. I was sort of one of the main owners, but we made him the CEO just before selling the company. He had what he was saying, a very hot-tempered wife from Sicily. Where in Sicily is it that you're from? Because I understood it's beautiful down there.
Well, I'm also in the south part of Sicily, in a small town called Gela. But yeah, it's just not a touristic place, I will say. But I mean, we also have a kind of interesting attraction here, and yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Sicily is small
at least, this is. I've had a couple of weird, 9 hours apart to Silicon Valley, and then Singapore was sort of, I think it was 8 hours in the other direction, but we're in the same time zone at least.
Yes, absolutely.
And you are doing something quite interesting, which fits very well with our sort of thinking around digital cash, and it's called behavioral biometrics. I guess let's start with biometrics, because I think, isn't that where you all started with biometrics?
Yeah, at the beginning, our intent was, we say, kill the password. We actually wanted to find a way to get rid of password. And of course, what was the best way, if not biometrics? So in that case, at the beginning, we tried to understand the facial recognition, fingerprint, voice recognition, and trying to understand if that could be enough to get rid of the passwords completely. Unfortunately, we have to say password is very resilient. And of course, I don't know if there is a way, honestly, to get rid of password completely in the long run.
Is that like PIN? Would you characterize a PIN like a password as well? That you?
Yeah, correct. I mean, anything that you have to remember. You know that. I personally have 800 password in my wallet, password wallet, and of course,
it's becoming a nightmare nowadays, sort of, to remember all.
It's possible, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, and every time you have to do the randomization, you have to create 8 characters with letters and symbols per case. I mean, of course, it is too much of a stress for the user. So, how we can get rid of that or simplify that proceeding? Biometrics, in theory, can allow to do that. Unfortunately, there is a drawback of biometrics. They are not as accessible as a password. So if the password can be typed anywhere, in any device, in any desktop or computer, mobile. You don't have any problem with this. But if you have the fingerprint, you need to have the fingerprint. You need a device that is enabled to read your fingerprint, of course. And that cannot also be used or shared to the bank, to the enterprises, because the fingerprint has to be stay sitting in the device, so it cannot be used to identify you.
Okay.
And if you think also any other system like Apple Face ID or Touch ID, whenever they don't work, it's not like you cannot access. You just have to type the password and then you are in. So in that case, what is the point of using biometrics? It's just a simplification of the proceeding, but doesn't really improve security of the solution. So, and that is where we come up with a new kind of factors, where it's called behavioral biometrics, which at the beginning sounded like magic, and they still sound like magic whenever we pitch to the customer. But it is definitely something that improves security, but at the same time doesn't actually ask the user to do anything at all. It's an invisible technology that sitting in the top of any device or desktop can recognize you just by looking at your interaction with the application.
How you interact with the device or the application itself.
Correct. So think about how you type the password, the pressure you use in the finger when you touch the screen, the speed of typing the password, the way you hold the phone or a device. So all these factors together are unique for each individual as much as a face, a voice, or a finger. So using different AI models is actually possible to recognize the user and identify if that is really you that is typing the password just by looking at this without asking him anything else. And of
Okay,
course,
so
the user.
you're sort of you're learning the behavior of the user,
Right.
and then you are matching. If you would someone or yeah, I guess if someone would use that device in a slightly different way, you would detect that and warn for that. Is that way to see it?
Yeah, correct. In that case, let's say any bank, any enterprise that want to early detect some fraud or maybe do a sort of analysis of the risk of any transaction, it can actually look at this additional information and try to verify if there is a fraud or not. Unfortunately, current system today, they look at the device, they look at the frauds with a very a limited set of information. Usually they just look at the date of the transaction, the amount, some of the habit of the user, but they don't understand the user behind the machine. They don't have this kind of data to increase the fraud detection rate. And so there are a limitation that has to be overcome by adding a new set of features. In that case, that is where the behavioral data of the user, of the human behind the screen, can be applied to improve the fraud detection of any solution, basically.
Yeah, and if I think of it sort of for our obviously digital cash, we want to enable the user to do something in an offline mode, and I can imagine that you have a sort of a wallet on your phone, so you have a certain amount of money, but if that money would be spent by someone who's not you, then I guess when you are going online, I guess your software could check that it looks like it's sort of being used by another person or even a robot. So
Right.
let's cut that wallet off. Would that be, do you think, a clever use case of your technology applied to digital cash?
Absolutely. So digital cash, of course, is one of the most important domain where our technology can be applied because especially on the mobile phone, we have so many data and features that the user can be detected with. And so in that case, as I said before, the pressure, the finger, the way you hold the phone, so the sensor, accelerometer, gyroscope of every phone can be used and can be you can collect the data of the user through this sensor in order to understand if the user which is doing a transaction is actually the one is claiming to be. And not only in terms of impersonation, not only I can distinguish if you are the one you are claiming to be, but also if there is a bot, a malware, this is attacking the user, and maybe he's doing a transaction without you to even know, I can still understand if there is a bot, a malware that is attacking you and protecting you without any additional measures. So you don't have to take a picture of your face every time or do any particular action or type the password. I may just have to look at the sensor of the device of the user of the phone, so that yeah, I see that the phone is not even moving. I don't see any kind of interaction. How is it possible that this user is doing a transaction? And so I can raise a flag and prevent any kind of frauds coming from that particular transaction.
Yeah, no,
So
exactly. Yeah, we've on Friday I had this interview with Shantanu Shirke, and he was telling that reconciliation, that the banks would be very interested in reconciliation to be able to do that. And I had on the Monday I had the interview with Joseph Gunn, the CEO of Viki, and he was sort of also saying that, well, adding reconciliation as a way to do security measures. He was talking about the old days that was sort of the sort of secure measure, because the device itself had very weak security, but they did it by reconciliation. So it's a good scheme to do reconciliation. And I think it's going to be useful for us, certainly if we go for the card schemes, because we have the data if we are transacting with a mobile phone that we could use. We can help the banks to see what's going on.
Right, and honestly speaking, this is very important today, especially today, because you know, digital cash is definitely the future. But you know, during the pandemic, there is a really high demand of digital cash, and of course, not only the digital cash is growing, but also the hacker and the account takeover attacks are also spiking during the pandemics and during thanks to all this growth. So it's really important for digital cash to increase security nowadays. And of course, behavioral biometrics or even biometrics are the one that is going to be definitely embedded in this solution over the time.
Yeah, that's the reason, sort of, isn't it, Alessio, that we have announced that we are partners in crime, trying to go to market.
Anti-crime, hopefully.
No, I think it's really good because I think you add a very important and an interesting component to our sort of partner ecosystem here, or a solution here. So I'm very happy to go to market with your solution, and I think it will be very interesting for many of the banks or the payment service providers. And what's interesting with, I think, neoEYE as well, because you've gone to India, haven't you? Just like we.
Yep. I mean, our is a US corporation, but I'm in Italy, and my team, my other co-founding team, is in India. So I'm the one that span between the US and India whenever it's necessary. But as of now, I have to say, neoEYED has been really focused on in India because there are a lot of opportunities there. There is a really great adoption ratio of digital cash, or in any case, there is a transition going on over there. So in that case, neoEYED can really fit over there because there are the opportunity. And in that case, for example, we already interacted with many different banks, and they are interested, of course, on adopting these technologies. So it's India is one of the great markets, let's say, where to be done.
Yeah, no, I agree. India is fantastic. I love the people, but it's a huge market, and it's sort of growing so quickly. So you know, it's fun. It's fun to work with India, I think. How did you come about this with behavioral biometrics? I hear you said that you had this vision that let's get rid of the passwords, but you know, you the founder, let's say, of the company, or just give us some background. How on earth did you come up with the idea, and where did it start from?
So I started very before neoEYED. My whole always my vision was about killing the password some way. I mean, even my thesis, my background is mostly on computer science, of course, and digital communication, computer science. And even my thesis project was about facial recognition, how to recognize the user through facial recognition to authorize payment transaction.
Okay.
And I also try to co-found with other people electronic money institution over there in Europe because we wanted to find a way to get rid of plastic cards using facial recognition, so that at the shopping counter you can just pay with a smile. So you smile, you do a selfie, let's say, and that's it. You are authorizing the transaction. And I'm talking about this before even Face ID was there, before Touch ID. So it was quite a lot of time ago. So over the time, I grew the passion and the interest on biometric space and try to always find new ways to authenticate the user and try to understand if there is a way to simplify the experience and at the same time improve security. And as I said, all the biometrics, regardless how much are secure or powerful, vein recognition, for example, iris recognition, yes, they are all secure. Unfortunately, it's they just not as widespread and as available as a password. And so doing more further exploration, of course, we come up with this new kind of trend, was behavioral technology, which at the beginning I didn't believe on. I mean, I thought it seemed to be too far-fetched. How could it even possibly work? So at the beginning, let's say there was a lot of skepticism, but then I tried to give it a try. I mean, and we tried to create a first MVP to understand how much can be available, how can be applied, and of course, I discovered that this actually could be really important. I mean, this to me is the base security layer for any application, because you don't have to think that if you use biometrics, you don't have to use behavioral. Even if you use any other authentication system, behavioral recognition must always come in the background. In the future, I always expect that any kind of application, we have a behavioral security layer in the background, because that is the very basic layer that doesn't add any friction to the user. So why not? I mean, at the end of the day, is it just improving security? Why not to add to the other system? And even biometrics can fail. So why not to add that additional step that can improve security, but without causing any stress? So
what other, we talked about digital cash, which is an obvious area, I think, where this would make a lot of sense. But if you look at other verticals, other industries, or other use cases, where are the...
Right. So the main important verticals for us, of course, is first of all is the fintech space, where we are talking about banks, neobanks, digital wallets. But there are other important ones like e-commerce. E-commerce is one of the most critical sector where, of course, security and frauds is also been spiking these days. E-commerce, education, and healthcare. These are surely the main domain where neoEYED can be applied. But if you think about this technology, it's not just for the end consumer. So we are not talking about protecting the consumer to do a transaction. We may actually protect the employees from doing any particular malicious activities. If you think any enterprise, any banks, any kind of company which has 1,000 employees spread among the globe, maybe today during the pandemic they're all working from home, you always need let's say a security layer. You always need for these employees a way to protect them from potentiality attacking to their accounts, especially if they are working from home. So a way to protect the home devices from these solutions.
No, but yeah, great. And I guess now in the COVID days, this use case would be huge. People are working from home so much more. So this could be a great vertical for you as well to add this for basically it's sort of just network security in a corporation.
Right. So if I heard correctly, there was like a spike of 200% or more of account takeover attacks to employees in these days. So of course, you know how phishing could be one of the cause of these attacks. So how we can protect the user if they have been already hacked. Hacker behavioral technology can help you that, because as soon as an hacker is able to breach into your account and steal your password, the way he's typing the password is different from you. So I can actually detect if that is happening, if there is an impersonation in your account, and maybe can prevent that. So yeah.
So even if they have the password, behavioral biometrics could sort of, if you have that password that people are still using, then it could still be denied actually for entering because you detect this is probably not you.
Right. I mean, consider that summing up all the data breaches that happened so far, there are like 30 billion passwords and credentials stolen so far from the hacker. So our password probably is already in the hand of the hacker. So how we can protect ourselves if this is happening already?
Yeah, so, I know when we first met, you showed that great. You had a demo where, because you provide to the cloud, sort of in the cloud, you have a sort of a probability between 0 and 100, how likely it is you using your own device. And as you said to me, if it's less than 50, then it starts to be questionable, and you should probably do, I don't know, you have to log in again with some, you know, more secure way or whatever, in order to, or the server could cut that user off or something.
Yeah, it really depends from the business to business. The score, of course, is an indication of the fraud, potential frauds, but is up to the company to decide what is the action to do based on that feedback. And you may have an e-commerce business which doesn't want to stop the transaction. Of course, in that case, maybe only when the score is very, very low can do a specific action. Or you have a bank which want to protect the assets, want to protect any transaction. And of course, it may require, let's say, a higher threshold before, so that the transaction can go through. So it's really customizable. And not only that, I have to say, we don't only provide the score, because the score is it's a good indicator, of course, overall indicator, but if you want to discover a fraud, you also have to understand how that score why is so low. And so that is why we are also providing some additional explanation to say, hey, yes, the score is low, but that is because we don't see any interaction at all. So maybe it's a bot, or maybe just the user copy and paste the password from his clipboard. So there are different cases that can lower down the score and can help you to identify if that was really a fraud to be to attention, or maybe something that can be passed by.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, and I think it's great. No, I remember you demoed that as well, that you had this breakdown of the probability, and you could see why. I think you asked us to log into my account now. We were allowed, you gave us our password, and then there was a 0 probability that it was sort of you doing it and there were multiple reasons. One was that we were in another time zone, not the time zone, but another geography, because you can obviously use that as well, just like the banks do with credit card payments. But how many sort of metrics do you have, sort of to behavioral biometrics that you in some way are you know, relying on for your artificial intelligence making a score?
So overall, let's say we actually extract a total of 1,000 total features from all the data that we are collecting. Now, out of that 1,000, of course, we create a subset of all of these, so that we have many different models, and each of these pick different kind of features. So I would say that it's yes, between 100 to 1,000 is the kind of feature that we are looking for to detect if that is the real user or not.
I think it's highly interesting, and it's one of those things that you know, it's user doesn't see, and I guess it's sort of some of the company who implement this, they don't want to publicly say that your software is running in the background, because this is something. This is a little bit of a security for them. So why even reveal that we have that extra layer? Isn't that true that they will actually want to keep that a bit of a secret?
It's true, but honestly, I don't know if European regulation especially will allow that. I mean, you still have to tell that to the user, or at least to give a sort of transparency in terms of the size, saying that you are collecting that data and why you are collecting the data. Of course, nobody read that, so in any case, they always accept it.
They just to use the service, you have to sort of comply. It's so so it's there, but it's people haven't understood that we are trying to just. But it's a safety thing for the user as well, so it's not a bad thing really. It's that we're trying to protect you from attacks, isn't it?
And honestly speaking, I don't think there is other ways to use this aside from security. I mean, yes, you can try to profile the user probably, although I would say it's not possible to identify a user just using this information. No. So it's not like facial recognition that you have a picture and then you can identify this is Alessio, this is Joachim. If you have the behavioral data, you can only do authentication. That means you need a previous login of the user, and you do a comparison between the new login and the previous one and verify how much they are close together, how much they match. But if you say, I have this behavioral data, who this behavioral belongs to, well, that is not possible today.
No, it's like a hash. It only goes in one direction. You can't go back really with that data.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think about the future, Alessio? Do we have a great future together? You with your fantastic behavioral biometrics and Crunchbridge with its digital cash. Well, what does the future hold in your opinion?
So as I said, digital cash is the future. So of course I don't see. I mean, I see that of course there is a lot of interest on merging back or merging the behavioral technology to protect the digital cash, which is. I mean, it is a really suitable for this kind of scenario. And if we are talking about how to protect the digital cash, improve security, and at the same time, without stressing the user with additional authentication methods, without biometrics or two-factor authentication or tokens, well, behavioral, of course, is the best technology that can fit into this.
Perfect. No, I'm really happy that you know, and I think let's give cred to Ram Rastogi, who we both work with in sort of he's advising and helping us both in India, and he brought us together, you know, and now we're here. We are sort of, as I said, partners, and I think it is really good because I like that is a non-intrusive type of technology you have. The user doesn't have to bother about it, and it's a little bit of a protection both for the user, but also for the issuer, the bank, that would feel much more comfortable by having this technology as well.
Yeah, there's more security, so why not? Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. On that note, I want to thank you, and I really look forward. I think this is early days in our partnership. We should. I know we will get some technical SDKs from you that we will play with and put together with our technology. But it's a pretty fast integration, isn't it? That this wouldn't take us long, would it?
Well, for our on-cloud integration, it's very 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, but depends, of course, how much you have to integrate. Yes, yes. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just copy and paste of some of the code and few lines of code.
We're up and running with this technology. No, I think it's fantastic, Alessio. And let's have fun with it. And let's go out and you know, make the world a safer place where people can pay with digital cash and still sort of feel pretty you know, safe about it with your technology.
Absolutely. Look forward to this partnership. Yes.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Alessio. Take care.
Thank you, Joachim.
Cheers.
Have a great day. Bye.